So this video is going to talk about how do you graph a compound inequality or compound linear inequality. Okay, so we have the following example where we have 2x plus y is less than 6 or 3x minus 2y is greater than 5. So a couple things to note about this problem before we jump right into it. First, these are inequalities. They have less than, greater than, or equal to signs, that kind of thing. So we do need to keep the rules of graphing those kind of lines in mind. So you do need to be a little bit practiced doing this already before jumping into this problem. If you need a little bit more practice, maybe go back and watch one of my videos on just graphing linear inequalities before you get into the graphing the compound linear inequalities. Okay. Second thing, we need to understand the difference between or the second option that you would have is an and. So an or has the meaning of a union, whereas the word and, which is your second option, would be an intersection of the two things. So if we want to graph the union of these two equations, we're pretty much graphing this line, including all the space involved in this graph. We're going to graph this one over 2, and we're going to include all the space that this one says, and we just want both of them together. This one or this one are our options. We're going to take both of them, unite them into one big space. So we're going to see how that works out. So before we get to that part there, we do need to graph both of these lines. And when it comes to graphing, in my opinion, the easiest thing to do is to use your slope-intercept form. Okay, slope-intercept form of the line, we do need to solve each one of these inequalities for y. So with my first equation here, I need to move the 2x over to the other side. So since it's positive, I'm going to subtract it away on the other side. Cancels it on the left, leaving us with y is less than a negative 2x plus 6. I'm going to pause right there while I do the same thing with this equation over here. Also solving for y, that means I'm going to kick this 3x over to the other side. Since it's positive, I'm going to subtract it away. Cancels on the left. Let's drop down. That negative 2y is greater than. Slope-intercept form of a line, your x comes first, then your number. So drop down the minus 3x. And then let's drop down this plus 5 that is here. We still need to work on getting y by itself, so this negative 2y is being multiplied to it. So the opposite is division. So we need to divide both sides completely by that negative 2. Now, we do need to remember one special rule when it comes to inequalities in comparison to equations is when it comes to inequalities, when you multiply or divide the equation by a negative, which is what we're doing here, we're dividing by a negative. The rule says that you must flip the inequality symbol. So this greater than flips to a less than. Otherwise, continue on with your math. Negative 2 over negative 2 cancels, leaving us with y. Negative 3 over negative 2, negative over negative cancels. Otherwise, 3 over 2 just gives us 3 over 2x. And then back here we have a positive 5 over negative 2. Positive over negative is negative, and that's going to give me a negative 5 halves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my graph here. And what I want to do is I want to graph both of these lines here. So I'm going to start with this first one, y less than negative 2x plus 6. Remember, when it comes to graphing, always start with your y-intercept first, then look at your slope. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, starting with the y-intercept, we have a positive 6. That means from the origin, go straight up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your y-intercept. Looking at our slope, it is a negative 2. So remember, that's negative 2 over 1. So that looks like up 2 over 1 in the negative direction, or down 2 to the right 1. Now, an important thing to remember when it comes to graphing inequalities is that if you have a less than or greater than symbol, you will have, you will have a dashed line. If you have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, that is going to look like a solid line. Because we have a less than symbol here, that means when I draw this line, it does need to be dashed. The meaning of the dashed line is that you don't want to actually include the line. Your space goes right up to the line, but it doesn't actually include the line. A solid line, you can include that edge of it. So that's the difference between those two. Otherwise, so this is what our graph is going to look like for that first line. We want everything y is less than the negative 2x plus 6. So when it comes to graphing this, and I'm going to use a different color here. When it comes to graphing this, the space that we're talking about, we want everything less than this line, which means everything below that line. That is this direction here. Okay? So that is the space for that. I still need to graph this line over here and add it over here. So it's going to get a little busy, a little bit messy. Most of these problems are, but try and keep it as neat as possible to keep your graph straight. So when I go to graph my other line over here, my y-intercept is a -5/2. Remember that is a -2.5. So from my origin, I go straight down about 2.5 right over there, and that's my y-intercept. Looking at my slope, that is a 3/2 slope. It is positive 3/2. So that means up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. So up 1, 2, 3 over 2, up 1, 2, 3 over 2. This is a less than symbol, so that is a dashed line. Okay. And we want everything less than that line, so we want everything below that line. Let me see what color would go well here. So everything below this line is going to be over here. Now, we want the union of these two. So the union is just the space of all of this plus the space of all of this. Both of it together, right? So you pretty much, your answer for this graph is everything that's shaded. Everything over here, right here where they're both shaded, over here where this one is shaded. You just take the entire space of both of them and include all of it. This graph right here is actually what your answer would look like, with everything that is shaded being the understanding that that is your answer. So I literally want everything here. Everything below this line on over here. Everything from this line below over there is your solution space for this problem here. Otherwise, that's it for this video.